Award-winning author and historian Charlotte Gray made a stop in Niagara Falls to talk about her newest release, Murdered Midas. The book focuses on the life and demise of Sir Harry Oakes.
Harry Oakes was a really extraordinary character because he said when he was just a schoolboy, he said he wanted to make his fortune and he was going to get it out of the ground. His friends all laughed at him. He wasn't a very attractive kid and he was always sort of pugnacious, not a great sportsman or anything. How did he ever develop this sort of determination? He was one of these characters, though, who was absolutely tunnel visioned. And he heard about the gold rush in the Yukon in the 1890s, went up there, arrived too late to find any gold, but he had the gold bug. He spent 15 years traveling all around the world looking for gold. And then finally, he heard about a gold rush in Ontario. And that's when he came back to Canada. He was an American originally from Maine, but he came back to Canada and he went to Kirkland Lake and he finally struck gold.
So Charlotte, how did Sir Harry Oakes make his way from Kirkland Lake to Niagara Falls?
Kirkland Lake was a pretty rough place. It suddenly was an instant gold town. There were 7 working mines there, but you know, it was about 90% prospectors and guys and a few pretty rough women. It was not a place that you wanted to raise a family. And in the early 1920s, after he'd got Lakeshore Mines rolling, he got married to a charming Australian woman, Eunice, and they had a child up there, the eldest daughter, Nancy, and he realized that he did not want to raise his family there. He didn't want to go to Toronto either, though, because he just totally distrusted the people he met from Bay Street. He thought that they were all just sort of sharks who were going to try and take his money from him. He came to Niagara Falls because of this house, Oak Hall. He saw a beautiful house overlooking the falls, thought it was an incredibly sort of both romantic and splendid, as befits a millionaire. So he bought this house, and that's what brought him to this town.
Sadly, Sir Harry Oakes is remembered as much for his death as for his business success and philanthropy. He was murdered in the Bahamas in 1943. What followed was a bungled investigation and a trial that ended without a conviction.
Oh, the investigation of the murder was fascinating. And there were all kinds of strange people come into this story, like the Duke of Windsor, who was the governor of the Bahamas at the time, who decided that 2 Florida detectives should do the investigation. The Florida detectives were like Laurel and Hardy. They were just so useless. They made a complete mess of the investigation. So when it went to trial, the guy that they had decided should take the rap for the murder, who was, incidentally, Harry Oakes' son-in-law, he walked, he got off, because there just wasn't the evidence to justify a guilty verdict.
So Charlotte, while doing your research, did any of it bring you here to Niagara Falls?
Yes, I had a wonderful visit here, and to Oak Hall, which was thanks to the Niagara Parks Commission. I mean, they gave me a tour of the house. I realized why Harry was so bewitched by this extraordinary building. And I also realized, in fact, that this is probably one town where he's remembered with more warmth and more gratitude than anyone else, because he gave quite a lot to Niagara Falls.
So your book's been out for a few months now. What's the response been like?
The response has been fantastic. It's been named by the Globe and Mail as one of the 100 best books of 2019. It's had great reviews, good sales. I'm pretty happy.
Charlotte believes she's uncovered the murderer. To find out who did it, you need to purchase her book, available at major retailers. At Oak Hall in Niagara Falls, reporting for The Source, I'm Lori Taraba.